Hey everyone, welcome back. If you're looking for a quick but in-depth NBA update, you are in the right place. We're going beyond just scores and looking at the standout performances and really trying to understand the strategies that'll make a difference for the rest of the season.
You got it. We're going to be looking beyond those box scores, and I got to say, some of these early trends are pretty fascinating.
All right, I'm ready. Let's jump right in. Let's start with that Clippers-Bucks game, a real nail-biter. The Clippers won it 127-117. Kawhi and PG combined for over 60 points. What'd you think of their offense?
Well, it's not just the numbers, right? They were crazy efficient, especially in that second half. The true shooting percentage was off the charts. They moved the ball well, found the open man, took advantage of mismatches, just really smart basketball.
So it wasn't just two superstars going off, there was a plan.
Exactly. And got to give Coach Lee some credit. He's got the system going, emphasizes spacing and ball movement, and that really lets guys like Kawhi and Paul George shine. Really tough to defend because the defense is always kept guessing. Interesting. So even though Giannis had a monster game, 35 points and 12 boards, the Clippers shut down the rest of the Bucks. Do you think this means they figure out how to stop Giannis, maybe for the playoffs?
It's something to think about for sure. You don't see a team hold Giannis and the Bucks under a 120 that often. What impressed me was their defensive strategy. They doubled Giannis constantly, forcing him to pass, then rotated quickly to cover whoever was open. Even when Giannis got to the basket, they were contesting without fouling, which is hard to do.
So does this mean the Clippers are a real championship contender now? They've always had talent, but now it seems like everything's coming together.
I wouldn't rule them out. If they can keep up this defense and keep sharing the ball, they're going to be tough to beat.
Yikes. That's got to worry the other teams. Speaking of contenders, the Suns kept winning. They beat the Wizards 119-109. Devin Booker, another great night, 32 points, 8 assists. But it wasn't a one-man show, was it?
Not at all. Their resilience is what struck me. They were down double digits in the first half, but they fought back and really dominated the second. Their depth was a big reason. Ayton killed it on the boards, had a double-double, and guys like Payne and Bridges off the bench, they really stepped up.
So the Suns aren't just relying on Booker to do it all. They've got a team that can win in different ways.
Absolutely. And their defense in that second half, man, they were forcing turnovers left and right and just turning those into points. That kind of defense can win you a championship.
All right, let's talk about the Lakers. LeBron and the Lakers took down Steph and the Warriors 118-108. LeBron almost had a triple-double, 30-10-9. It's like he's not aging. But what really stood out to you?
LeBron's amazing,
Mm.
obviously. But for me, this game was all about Anthony Davis. He was just a beast on defense, shutting down whoever the Warriors threw at him. 4 blocks, but it was more than that. He was changing shots, disrupting passes. The Warriors' offense just couldn't get comfortable.
Yeah, I noticed that too. When AD's healthy and locked in on D, the Lakers are a completely different team.
Like night and day. Yeah, and don't forget Westbrook. He didn't score a bunch, but he was all over the court, grabbing boards, hustling, getting the offense going. When those three are clicking, watch out for the Lakers.
So even though Steph had 33 points, the Lakers found a way to shut down Clay and Draymond, and that's what won it for them. Seems like they're becoming a defense-first team.
Exactly. And that's what makes them so dangerous. They've got the offensive firepower, but now they're adding that defensive edge, could make them a real threat in the West.
Okay, let's head east. The Sixers crushed the Bulls 109-97. Embiid was unstoppable, 34 points, 15 rebounds. What stood out to you about his game?
It's how much Embiid's game has grown. He's not just that dominant post player anymore. He's hitting threes, handling the ball, creating for his teammates. The Bulls tried everything, but he was just too much. He's becoming a complete player.
And it wasn't just Embiid. Maxey off the bench, 16 points, gave them a real spark. Think that depth could be a factor come playoff time?
Definitely a strength. So you've got guys who can score, guys who can defend. They're not just relying on Embiid. That kind of depth is huge in a long series, especially against teams with more star power.
You're saying that even with Levine and DeRozan, the Bulls might not have enough to beat the Sixers in a playoff series because of Philly's depth?
Yeah, it's possible.
Yeah.
When you have a lot of guys who can score, that really wears down a defense, especially in a long series. And with Doc Rivers coaching, a guy who's won a championship, the Sixers are a team you can't sleep on.
I'm seeing a theme here. Depth is a real factor early in the season. And speaking of deep teams, the Grizzlies just blew out the Jazz, 125-103. Ja Morant, another amazing game, 29 points, 11 assists. What's most impressive about his game?
You know what really gets me about Morant is how he controls the pace. He can change speed so quickly. 1 second he's slow and methodical, the next he's exploding to the basket. The defense never knows what's coming. And court vision is unreal. Always seems to know where his teammates are, how to get them the ball for the best shot.
It really feels like his energy and playmaking just lifts the whole team. But on the other side, the Jazz, they've got veterans like Mitchell and Gobert, and they just couldn't get anything going. What happened there?
The Grizzlies just disrupted everything the Jazz wanted to do on offense. They were all over the perimeter, denying passes, forcing turnovers. Jaren Jackson Jr. was a wall in defense, blocking shots, protecting the rim. They just made it really hard for the Jazz to find any rhythm.
It's like they weren't intimidated at all. Does this win make you think the Grizzlies are a real contender in the West?
Absolutely. They're a young team, but they play with this swagger, this fearlessness. They're not backing down from anyone, and they've got the talent. Definitely a team to watch.
Okay, so we've seen amazing individual performances, Kawhi, Paul George, Booker, LeBron, Embiid, and then you've got these teams, Clippers, Suns, Lakers, Grizzlies, all showing they've got depth in defense. So for the listener, what's the big takeaway here? What should we be watching for as the season goes on?
I think the biggest takeaway is that things are changing in the NBA. We're seeing these new contenders, teams built on depth, versatility, and playing tough defense. The old guard's still there, but they're getting pushed by these young, hungry teams.
So it's not just about having one or two superstars anymore. It's about having a whole team that can win in different ways.
Exactly. And that's what makes this season so exciting. The league is wide open. So many teams could win a championship.
So as we go forward, what should we be watching for? Which trends, which matchups will tell us who the real contenders are?
Look at how teams adjust to each other. The best teams are always evolving, figuring out how to take advantage of their opponent's weaknesses and maximize their own strengths. Watch the coaches, the rotations, how teams react when things get tough.
You know, it's funny. We talk a lot about players and their stats, but it sounds like coaching is more important now than ever.
Oh, absolutely. The coaches who can adjust during the game, who can motivate their guys, get them to buy into the system, those are the coaches that are going to win.
So it's almost like a chess match now between coaches trying to outsmart each other.
That's a great way to put it. You got to be thinking ahead.
Yeah.
What's your opponent going to do? What's your counter move? And it's not just the X's and O's. It's about knowing your players, their strengths and weaknesses, putting them in the right spots to succeed.
So you can't just watch the ball anymore. You got to pay attention to the coaches, the substitutions, timeouts, all those little things that can make a difference.
Exactly. And for you listening, that means you're not just watching the game. You're really part of it, trying to figure out the strategies, all the decisions being made.
Makes it a lot more fun to watch. And, as we're talking, I keep thinking about this. We've seen these incredible individual performances, some really strong teams too. But what do you think, which of these trends, which of these performances is going to have the biggest impact come playoff time?
That's the big question, isn't it? It's early. Anything can happen. But if I had to pick one thing, I'd say it's these young, hungry teams like the Grizzlies. They're not just happy to be there. They're coming for the top teams, and they're not afraid of anybody.
Yeah, they're playing with something to prove, showing everyone they belong.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're bringing this energy to the league. Makes it exciting for the fans.
So we've covered a lot today, but here's the takeaway. Depth defense coaching. Those are going to be key this season. We've seen some surprises, some new contenders.
And it looks like this is going to be one of the most exciting NBA seasons in a long time. You never know what's going to happen.
So buckle up and enjoy the ride. Keep all this in mind as you watch the games. See if you can predict who's going to come out on top. We'll be back soon with another deep dive. But until then, keep learning, keep watching, and most importantly, keep loving the game.